All right, we are live. We have a great show coming at you tonight. We've had a lot of people interested in long distance relationships. We've had a lot of people who say, I just don't think long distance relationships are for me. We've had some people say, I'd like to give it a try, but I just don't think it'll work out. We've got some very interesting stats tonight, and we have a really awesome couple coming with us tonight to discuss this. And I think you'll be surprised at how well this is going. Check it out. We'll be right back with you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Flameless Fireside podcast. We're super excited to have you with us tonight. We've got a great topic that we're going to be discussing today, long distance relationships, the ups and downs, ins and outs of those. And we do know that this is kind of one of those subjects that there's some strong opinions both ways. So we hope that those in the chat will join in and give their take, their experiences, and their thoughts on the subject so we can discuss those as well. My name is Celeste. I'm your host for tonight, and I am here with Everett. And guess what, everybody? Tonight is Everett's birthday, so we got to say happy birthday to Everett.
Oh, you weren't supposed to tell
Birthday.
anybody that. It was supposed to be a secret.
It's like happy birthday.
Yeah.
If I could sing, I would sing to you, but I can't sing. So
I stopped
I
having
can't sing
birthdays
either,
when I
but let's
turned
sing
30.
happy birthday anyway.
Oh, I think David wants to sing happy birthday.
Oh, look at gosh, I'm experiencing technical difficulties.
He's like,
He's so pretending to be liar.
I don't know what's going on.
Well, we just wish you a happy birthday, Everett. We're super excited you join us for your birthday.
Thank you.
So
Happy
extra
birthday.
special. Yes. I'm also here with my co-host Corey, and it's not his birthday, but he's kind of chilling in his lair. So we're super excited to have him here with us. And we have the amazing couple, Heidi and David, who are currently in a long distance relationship. And we will be getting their information, their opinions, and we're super excited to have them on. Now, both David and Heidi have been on the show before, but as singles. They were single at the time, and now they're together. So we're actually super excited here on that because we love both of them. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and get this started. So here's my question to you guys. We're going to just kind of dive right. No, we're not. You know what? We're going to let you guys introduce yourself first. I forgot. Sorry. David, Heidi, introduce yourself. Tell us how you met. Tell us how you guys became a couple, and just a quick overview of your situation.
Go ahead, babe.
Okay. So we met actually at the Boise Bash. Totally different topic, but you guys should look it up. It's amazing.
Yes.
In October of 21, it's when we met in person. We were Facebook friends for like 6 months before that, but we didn't have any one-on-one contact. I remember actually in September, so a month before Bash, there was this activity in Boise, and I was like, oh, I knew I wanted to meet him in person.
Yeah.
And I forgot to introduce myself or whatever. And I remember talking to him later, maybe it was on an after party or something. I was like, oh, I was going to introduce myself and I forgot. And I think he just laughed at me. But so we met at Boise Bash, and we were friends for a year and a half before he asked me on a date. And the rest is about 6 months of history.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to ask you real quick though, Heidi. Of that time, how long were you waiting for him to ask you on a date? Were you like, okay, we've been friends on Facebook for a while.
It was a total surprise. I asked her, and she's like, what?
No, that's actually not what I said. It was
more like, what?
Oh, so much better.
No, it was,
Yes.
That's what it was. It was,
I don't remember what he said. We were on a phone conversation, and he said something. I don't remember what it was. And I was like, you mean you want to date me?
Uh-huh.
And he said, yeah. And I went, oh.
That's very
because
wow.
I don't think on my feet real well.
Everybody who's considering long distance relationships just got super inspired by that, Heidi.
But she said yes. And it's funny because I was super nervous before our first date. I said, because we had been friends for almost 2 years before this. And I said, what if it doesn't work out? What if it's a terrible, horrible date? And she's like,
I believe the words were, what if this goes really badly?
Yeah.
And I laughed at him.
And she said, then we'll just be friends. But our first date was phenomenal. We just had so much fun and connected on all the levels, and I loved it.
And it was the first of many monstrous burger eating photos that I'm collecting.
Oh. Hey, I've also noticed you guys like to collect rocks shaped like hearts. I see David sharing those all the time.
See, I've been doing that for a couple years now. Every time that I see a heart rock, I am reminded of God's love.
Oh, okay.
And it's been really special to be able to do that, especially with my sweetheart. It's awesome.
So nice. Well, I'm just glad you guys, but first of all, I think both of you are amazing as singles. Like I loved both of you. So when y'all kind of got together, I was like, this is just the perfect little couple. So super excited for you guys. Okay. Again, thanks for joining us. We're super excited to have you here. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive into some stats. We're going to talk about some facts and stats about long distance relationships. And I'm going to try to kind of have you guys guess, and people in the comments and the live chat, you guys can guess along with us. We're going to see.
Do I need my notebook? Is this like a
No.
quiz?
We're just we'll just discuss. They can.
This isn't Boggle. You're fine, babe.
Hey, can I just add to, before we dive into the stats, Celeste and I were going through this during the week, and I think these are some very interesting stats. I think people that are watching tonight, because we've had this question however many times on the podcast, we've had people asking like, is it really something that people do? Is it a good idea? I don't really want to do it. What do you guys think? I think people are going to be very surprised at the stats we have tonight on long distance relationships. Obviously, Celeste and I have done the long distance relationship thing, so we are pro. And there are a lot of people
long distance relationship and marriage.
And
hey, look, if you're going to do it, I just figure do it right.
Just do it the whole 9
went from LDR to LDM.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. That's
We're
right.
just moving through the alphabet.
That's right. Yes.
Words.
Okay. So, hey, just a quick question. We did have a question in here. How far are you guys apart? That's a good thing because people want to know.
Oh,
like how
you just did the math on this.
187 miles.
187?
Yep.
No, 374. Yeah, 187.
Okay. Ironically, I was asking Everett, I'm like, well, I wonder what they consider long distance. And it says the average long distance is 125 miles. So you guys are a little over average.
It's 2 hours and 40 minutes to drive there.
Babe, we're above
Everett
average.
and I are like beyond average, like at the 2,000 mile mark. I mean, that's pretty extreme. But hey,
listen, you guys, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right.
We're gonna do it big.
Okay?
Hey, I'm from Texas.
Go big or go home.
That's right. All right. Everything's bigger in Texas. All right. So, the first stat, this is the big one. This one might shock you guys. The question is, what is the success rate of a long distance relationship? So we're doing percentage here. So
is this like a nationwide thing or is this an LDS thing?
This is just nationwide. And actually, I'm going to get some of these this individual had listed 10. I had picked 5 of the 10 stats that she was sharing. But the first one we're going to start with is the success rate for a long distance relationship.
So in other words, how many long distance relationships work out? What do you guys think? Percentage wise?
25%.
37.
Okay. Ooh. Okay.
Heidi's going up there. She's going for it.
What about you, Corey?
Oh, I'd say 40%.
Ooh, we're keep going up and up and up. Okay. So I don't know what the chat's saying, but we're going to
what about the chat? What do you guys think?
They're a little bit, I know there's a lag time, so theirs might come after I already revealed, but 20.
We got one guess here. 20%.
All right. Well, this is the revealed information here. So it is actually, that's not the one I wanted. It is actually 58%.
Really?
Dang it. I was so
Can you believe that? I was like,
58.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't buy it, but oh well.
Corey, we know it doesn't work for you. It's okay.
This is why we have Corey. I'm so glad he's here because he does kind of have more, he's a little skeptical about all of this. So we like to have his opinion on here because I think it's really.
Yeah, I get to play the devil's advocate.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing that people need to realize that our world changed in 2020 and things became much more virtual. So that's one of the things they point out in these articles, that people became used to a lot of this stuff. So that's why you're seeing these stats much higher than you would expect, because people are like, hey, these are some of the new norms that we've experienced. So very telling, very interesting.
It's opened up a lot of avenues that we never would have even considered beforehand. So, though there were negatives, there were pros, right, and positives from it. Okay, so the next question is, what do you think? How often do you think they see each other within a long distance relationship?
Well, that's like totally depends on how far away they live from each other. But that you said the average is 120 miles.
The average, yeah, 125 miles average. What did you say, David?
At least once a month.
Once a month, weekly. What about you, Corey?
What was the question again? I was reading some of the comments.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I changed my answer. I say every 2 weeks.
We're just going to put Corey in as moderator.
How often do you think people see each other on LDRs?
Once a month.
All right, you guys are right there. Okay, so it's once or twice a month. So that's good. Yeah, so that's not bad. So if you guys are like, am I ever going to be able to see this person? You know, there's.
Did I just miss the answer? Is that what was there and then left?
I probably popped.
Yeah, that went really quick.
I know I do it too quickly. I'll leave that for a second. Okay, so the next question is, and we're going to get through these stats really quickly, and then we'll get into the top 10.
Well, I was in a long distance relationship, and so it was once a month. It was It was like my turn to go up, and then their turn to come down. So it was when I was living in Mexico City. So it was like definitely long distance.
I can tell you, going 2 weeks or 3 weeks is brutal in between.
We haven't done 3 weeks yet.
We haven't, and I don't want to. That's just
you lovebirds are definitely going to be part of the 58%.
Okay, what's the next thing? Okay, so the next one is what percentage of married couples actually started as a long distance relationship?
Do you have that question for the banner?
I don't want to give the answer.
Well, I'm gonna cheat that if 58% say that they're successful or that they're good, I'm gonna say that I'd say 50%.
I would say 50%.
You think 50% of all marriages started in a
of all marriages? Yep. I would say
marriages? Oh yeah.
I'm gonna say 22.
I thought you meant of long distance relationships. I'm like, oh, that's easy.
No, I just meant in general. So 10% of all marriages actually began as long distance. So that's pretty surprising as well.
1 in 5. That's too much. You need to think about this.
That's one out of every 10 couples.
1 out of every 10 couples began long distance. Okay, so here's a big shocker. And I don't think like my clients that are overseas will be shocked by this. But what percentage of people living in like UK and Europe, we'll go with that's what the stat is, are in a long distance relationship?
30%.
In Europe with other Europeans or in general around the world?
It's just long distance. It doesn't, I don't think there's not a race or a location.
What?
Just
does that matter? Like, okay, if you're long distance with somebody not from Europe, it doesn't count.
Europe.
It says in the UK and Europe. So they're specifying those as two. So
boy, you could be like in a completely different country and still not be long distance in Europe. So whatever.
Well, I would say 60%.
Okay.
I'm going to say 54.
All right. 42 from Dave. All right.
Dave's guess.
You guys are about to be floored. It is actually 90%.
Holy cow.
Unbelievable. So you Europeans are out there going, yeah, I know. This is what we do.
You're like, yeah, we've been doing this for years. You guys are lagging behind.
Okay. So what do you believe is the biggest issue among people in long distance relationships? Their biggest obstacle?
The biggest obstacle?
Cost.
Okay.
Like
cost.
Yeah.
Or authenticity.
Authenticity. Yeah. Okay. Any other guesses?
I'd go with Corey's answer. I'd say cost.
Okay. All right. Y'all are wrong. Just kidding. But once it popped up, you're going to know why.
I love saying that. Did you hear that?
I love being right. But the only reason I'm right is because I know the answers. But it is actually the lack of physical intimacy or the touching and the presence of each other. So that is totally the biggest obstacle.
That's really funny that neither of us said that because we're both That's our main love language for both of us.
So I think when I say cost, I was saying cost because you want to see each other more, and so it's too expensive sometimes to go like every week or spend every weekend, and especially if like one person has to stay in a hotel because they've got small kids and it looks weird to have some strange dude living in the house. So I was just thinking that the cost and expense of doing it would then lead to not seeing each other that much. So
no, I mean they all come into play in it, but the 66% said the biggest issue, the obstacle, was that the physical part. They missed the physical part. Okay,
this comment from Mike I thought was interesting. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say I agree with Mike here. The trust that's got to be there. That's super,
that's a big one. And we're going to talk about that too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Heidi.
No.
Actually, that's what I was going to comment on was his comment.
Yeah.
Yes. Trust is a big one. We're going to discuss that on one of these steps. So we're going to go into the top 10 lists for successful LDRs. We can come up with a lot of, cons because, there are a lot, but we're going to talk about the cons and see what we can do to try to make them a positive. How can we handle these negative things such as trust in a positive manner to make the LDRs successful? So we are going to start with, and then as we pop this up, I'm just going to go through all 10 and we're just going to discuss each of them as they come. Okay. So super simple. So number 1, we are going to start out with if you're going to get into a long distance relationship, if you are even considering getting into a long distance relationship, you have got to realize that there has to be some sort of foundation before moving forward into it. So you need to have some ground rules with the individual. You need to have expectations that are spoken. And you also need to have goals as a couple for what the relationship is and where y'all are headed. Now that seems pretty heavy, but why do you think that's so important for an LDR versus just a normal relationship where, you just started dating? Why is that something you think these would be beneficial?
It's because you're more invested in the relationship. You have to be. If you're not invested, if you're not saying, this is what I want, this is when I can do it, this is what I expect, it's not going to work.
That's right.
Well, so you could be on you guys would wind up at different pages too, right? Because if one person's like, hey, I want to see where this is going, the other person is like, no, I'm fully invested. And if you don't get those lined up, then then when you guys are apart, it's going to be a lot of misunderstanding. The person's going to be like, are you ghosting me? Are you ignoring me? You're not interested anymore because I'm fully committed? And the other person is like, oh, I'm just checking this thing out to see how it goes.
Yep.
I think that's one thing that's worked really well with us. And oh my gosh, my cat is going to make me insane.
We love kitties.
Go away. I don't know if anybody noticed I kind of elbowed her earlier. Anyway, one of the things I think that works really well for us regarding this is we're both really open and really hard to offend. And so I think I've upset him once, and he sent me a text, and then we had a phone call later when we both had time, and we talked about it, and it was done. And it was totally my fault.
Girl.
Okay.
All right. So setting goals. Do you guys set goals? Like these type of foundational pieces can feel kind of awkward. Especially in the beginning. So if you set a goal for your relationship, if you're in a long distance relationship, what kind of goals? Because I know the people in the audience are like, well, wow, what kind of goal? What are we doing here? What are your suggestions for goals?
It has changed over time. In the beginning, obviously we had been friends for about 2 years. And we had that strong connection. And we said, okay, we want to develop our friendship. We want to develop our connection and see where this goes. As we got to know each other, we realized this is serious. And ultimately, our goal is to get married in June. That's our goal.
Oh, the announcement's out here on the podcast.
It's been out.
Oh, wait. Okay. The announcement
he totally
is
asked
on the podcast tonight. I just found out.
He asked my permission. He's like, are you okay if we say that? And I'm like, sure. I was like, it's already out on Facebook.
It's out there. So,
but we started as friends. We developed that part of it. We started communicating as more than friends. Once we committed, we started seriously considering dating. Once I asked her to be my girlfriend, it has been a gradual progression to marriage. And we've been intentional the whole way along.
In each of those steps, I'm sure you guys had a discussion. Where are we at now? Where are we headed? What kind of rules do we have in place? What kind of special rules did you guys have in place? Did you have any when you guys went into this committed long distance relationship?
To be honest with each other.
To be honest, okay, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Heidi, stop lying to me.
I didn't know what he said. Obviously that's something we both hold in. Well, that's a deal breaker for both of us.
It should be.
That should be a deal breaker for any relationship.
Yeah, that should be.
But that's not something that either one of us I don't think we even thought about. I know I didn't feel like I had to wonder because I already knew who he was. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of things, like if you're thinking of getting into a long distance relationship with someone you met a month ago, that's a whole different ball of wax than what we have done because we knew each other really, really, really super well.
Right.
Yep. Okay, but
not a friendship level, but as far as character.
You guys were friends for a long time, but how much did you guys talk on Facebook? Like, how interactive were you before? Did you guys just kind of? We were in the singles program. They friend each other, but they might not.
No. Like last summer, we got really, really close. We talked a lot.
We were talking almost every day.
Before
was
you
it that
asked
often?
her out.
Yeah. This is last summer. This is over a year ago.
Last summer. We were. It was September.
Wait. You were talking almost every day before you asked her out, and Heidi was still surprised when you asked her on a date.
I'm not sure that we were talking almost every day, but it was easily once or twice a week. But it wasn't super regular. Like sometimes it would go a little longer, and then one of us would touch base, stuff like that. Right. But
so Heidi, were you genuinely surprised? Like, okay, this guy's talking to me like pretty frequently, and now he's asking me out. Now I don't know what to do. Like, do you often have these like lots of conversations with random guys that never ask you out? I'm just curious.
Actually, I'm going to throw out there. I've done one of the big, commonly thought of as big no-nos. This is the only relationship I've had since my divorce.
Yep.
I have communicated and spent time with lots of other people, but this is the only official relationship that I've been in.
Yep.
But I'm a pretty deliberate person. For all my fun-loving nature, I'm not a mindless jump into something serious type of person.
I just like you are doing things with purpose, right? Just like Corey had stated in one of these other past podcasts, like if you're going to date with purpose. And I think that's what you were doing. You weren't going to move into a committed relationship with somebody if there wasn't a purpose behind it. Like, why do it if I'm not to that point? But for David, you got to that point and you were okay with that. And so you felt comfortable shifting into that next stage. And so I think that's kudos to you versus like hopping into things that, you don't need to be hopping into. Okay.
Well, it's interesting because I was in a relationship shortly before we started talking again seriously. It took about a week or two for me to get to that point. But I knew Heidi was my best friend. And it's interesting because it was a natural progression from friendship to what we have now. And I thank God every single day for that experience because it's been incredible.
Yeah. And now you guys are engaged, kind of, sort of. Yeah. I mean,
unofficially
officially engaged. Can we say that? Or?
Well, there's a goal. There's a goal for June.
Celeste,
we're unofficially official. Yes.
We're unofficially officially
I'll let
engaged.
David explain. I'll let David explain the unofficial.
And that's okay. I think y'all do it your own way.
we have to have. I have to have a conversation with her boys because I want to ask their permission to marry their mom. That's what I want. And once I have that conversation, then we will move forward, and it will be rather quickly. And I keep bringing up all of these scenarios. She's like, "Don't talk to me. Don't tell me about it." And I'm like, "But I want
I like
to
surprises."
Well, yeah.
And
So
he has a hard time keeping secrets.
But I can't wait to propose and move forward with that. Absolutely.
Okay, are you?
So
You've got a
moving,
video.
who's moving where? So who's moving where? That's the big question.
I'm moving to Twin.
Oh,
yeah.
Are you?
I know, I was kind of sad because I'm like, if Heidi moves to my hometown, when I'm in my hometown, I can come visit her. But she decided to take David from my hometown and move him away. So I'm a little mad.
You could just come a little further north.
I'm good with
I know. Okay, we're gonna move on to number 2 because we got 10 of these to get through. So okay, so number 2 on our list is honesty and communication. So we talked on honesty, and this is huge. And this is honesty both ways. If you're not feeling good on things, that needs to come out. If you're feeling great on things, that needs to come out. If you have questions about things, that needs to come out. When you are long distance and you don't have that constant interaction with each other, you have to be very purposeful in your communication. And that communication has to be honest. If not, I just feel like that's kind of like you're heading toward a bad end, in my opinion. So what do you think? Where do you think what would be the most challenging type of honest communication for a long distance relationship?
Well, see, this is where he's had some practice prior to this that I didn't have because I hadn't practiced on anybody else. And so there were,
Heidi had to learn to be honest in her communication. She didn't have practice.
No, that's not what I meant. Sorry. That's not what I meant. I kind of skipped over a thought in my head. One of the notes I made on this point, that sounded bad. One of the notes I made on this point was vulnerability, because if you have to have that. And I would say I'm fairly good at being vulnerable. I thought I was better at it than I actually was when it got down to nitty gritty, really personal stuff. He kind of had to just a little bit,
kind of dig it out of you.
Not too bad, but I would like him and haw about things, and he's like crazy intuitive, which is so not like me. Or I should say I'm not like that. And so I remember there was one time that I had something rolling around in my head for at least a day, and I was like, should I ask him about this or tell him about this? I don't even remember what it was. And I was still hemming and hawing inside. And at one conversation, he was like, so I feel like you've been different. What's going on? And I'm like,
perfect. Let me just tell you.
And so we talked about it, and it was all cool. But
the thing is this is what's positive about what you just said. Like, you were recognizing there was something you wanted to discuss with him. You were having a hard time trying to figure out how to present it. But David didn't become offended, be like, oh, what's wrong with her? And get upset. Like, he genuinely just came to you and said, hey, I kind of feel like something's off. What's going on? And that presented a space where you all could talk openly and safely. And whatever it was you were struggling with, I'm sure you guys just discussed it. And we're better on the opposite end. I can't tell you how many questions I asked Everett throughout our dating time. I was like, I swear he had like a whole paragraph in his head, and he'd give me 2 words, and he just assumed I could like understand all the rest that's in his head. And
okay, so I would like to say that is not true. It is actually the opposite.
What?
This is the part I was looking forward
practicing
to.
some honesty and communication right now. This actually went the other way around. Celeste would always tell me these like vague things, and I'm like, did you actually like say that? Like, well, no, kind of. That's where we always get into the women have these like signals and smoke signals and all these kind of things, and guys are supposed to interpret it. Corey can back me up on this. Like, women are fantastic at like guys supposed to know what is being said, but not like telling us. That's absolutely 100% true.
I was always asking Everett questions. I had my list, and I'd be like, and I was kind of like Heidi. I'd be like, I don't know what he kind of meant by that, and I can kind of take that like multiple ways. And so since he was definitely more of the slower side of this relationship, I would, it was kind of like, I don't know, like, I don't know where he's at, so I kind of need to ask him. So he got bombarded with a lot of questions, but I felt like that's better. I've always been one. If I have a question, I want to ask it so that I give them the opportunity to answer. Because the answer I'm going to come up with in my head is probably not going to be right. And it's probably going to be negative and the worst case scenario. And that's not fair to me or to the person I'm assuming the answer for. So I think.
See, when
I'm not laughing at you.
That's okay. All right.
When I have seen Heidi back off a little bit, I ask a lot of intentional questions. And every time that I do, she knows to answer honestly. And she always has. And that's one thing that I have appreciated is, I'm very intentional. I pick up when she's struggling, when she's frustrated, and sometimes I get it wrong. That's the smoke signal. I get that.
Not usually. Well, and I'm not the stay silent and make him guess. That's not why I'm like that.
But every time that we've had this come up, we were able to just have a conversation and talk it out, and then we're good. But it takes a little bit.
And I think that especially when you're distant, and even if you're on a virtual call, it's just not the same environment to be open and vulnerable when someone's in your presence. Is a little easier than on a phone or, over video. So it is. So we, as LDR individuals, or we have to kind of exert ourselves beyond our comfort zone and bring up topics and questions that really might bother us. Because guess what? There's, these are hard. Long distance relationships are not easy. And so you don't want to have things in your way that you could remove from the path, right? If there's a boulder there, get it out of the way, because there's bound to be boulders along the way that you don't, that'll be hard to get past. So,
and we've had things come up that normally you wouldn't see as a stumbling block. But as you really work through it and are honest and say, this is what happened, and this is why, you're vulnerable, you're honest, and you allow your partner to either accept it or reject it. And thankfully, Heidi has been so accepting. I mean, you all know my story.
Yep.
And it hasn't been an easy one. But she has been. I told Heidi I was going to get emotional.
That's okay. You have a great story.
But she has been so honest with me and so accepting and loving. And I thank God every day. Because without that honesty, we wouldn't have what we do today.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
If there's one thing I've gathered from the times we've talked with Heidi, it's that she is good people and not judgmental. So she's probably not the type of person to just be like, oh, something's wrong. I don't like you. I'm better than that.
Yep.
And I have to say, this is a testament to David, because those of us who do know your story, because you shared it on other podcasts, the very fact that you have moved forward and have that faith, I do believe that you guys are blessings for each other. But it's just a faith building thing for me to see what you've experienced and what you've gone through and where you're at, and that Heidi is she's a loving person. She's a kind person. And it just shows like the power of the atonement and just the life that Christ, or what he did for us, how it can just heal every aspect of our lives. Well, and so, yeah.
Let's not forget that no one has lived a pristine life.
Nope.
No one else. I mean, it's not like I don't need the atonement as much as anybody else.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, I agree. And that's the thing. It's when we get in any relationship, I think that David has got an amazing story, and it just shows his strength. And I'm sure that Heidi's got amazing stories that shows her strength, and then you kind of come together. So yes, thank you for sharing that. I am going to go ahead and move on to number 3. So I'm curious. I'm going to have Corey answer this because, he was in his long distance Mexico City relationship. And I think he's going to probably hit the nail on the head on this one. So here's number 3. So you need to be able to be happy alone with happy together. What are your thoughts,
Don't
Corey?
worry, be happy.
What are your thoughts,
Happy
Corey?
alone and be happy together. Yeah, that's a true statement. You definitely, and I think long distance relationships can really reveal like if there's any issues prior to a marriage commitment. So if somebody is very, clingy, or they're very untrusting, and they're like, "Where are you right now? Turn on your camera, show me where you're at." What's that girl's voice in the background? You're like, "I'm at the store," and that's a lady in the registry next to me, right? So if you're having those kinds of long distance issues, it's time to cut bait and run, right? Because
I'm sorry, that just
because you have to be happy alone. Like you have to be like, "Hey, we're not going to see each other but once or twice a month," and you need to be okay with the fact that during an 8-hour period in the day, you may not hear from me. And you should be okay with that. Like I should call you at the end of 8 hours and say, "How was your day?" You're like, "Oh man, it was amazing. I did X, Y, and Z. I worked on this project. I had my hobbies. I went to a movie on my own by myself." And then, there's the issue with like, then you get home and you have your conversations, you talk about your day, but yeah, you've got to be happy alone. So
because you're going to spend a lot of time alone.
Like, call me, text me every moment of the day, let me know how you're doing, and that's what your relationship's going to be like when you get married. So just keep that in mind.
Well, and it really speaks to attachment styles, whether you're anxious or avoidant or secure. This is the most secure relationship that I have ever had.
Me too.
In my marriage, I was avoidant. In past relationships, I have been anxious. In this relationship, I've been secure. And being able to be happy with who I am, what I'm doing as an individual, really plays a part in that. Because if you are not happy by yourself, you can't be happy in a relationship. You can't give your partner what they need to be happy.
Especially in a long distance relationship.
You can't make somebody love you. Like you can't
Absolutely.
say my happiness is dependent upon this person in my life.
Right.
Like, so like there's a lot of stuff. I've been reading some stuff that's like a lot of crossover in multiple like disciplines, Christianity, and and so I'm working on a book about warrior wisdoms, and some of the warrior wisdoms we're talking about, like a lot of it's talking about detachment. Like, do not attach to personal items, like don't attach to physical things or people. It doesn't mean you don't love them. It doesn't mean you have love. It means that when you have detachment, when you disassociate or detach from that, then if your car gets destroyed in a car accident, you don't cry. You're not heartbroken. You're like, it's just a car, right? And if a girl decides that she doesn't want to date you anymore, you're not like, oh, right? You're just like, you're like, oh, well, that sucks, but okay, I'm going to move on. Right?
Okay, but you need
it's
to have
okay
emotions
to cry
there.
if
Yeah,
you feel like it.
It's okay to be upset, but you're not going to be like my life is over. Like all women suck. You're not going to be like, this woman's not making my life happy anymore. She's making it miserable by leaving me. And so there's a lot of this crossover, and even in Christianity, right? You don't have any idols before God. You don't idolize your possessions because they turn into dust and thieves break in and steal it, right? And there's that's a standard doctrine across all disciplines. And what I'm trying to say is that if people feel like you're getting into a relationship because you need love, then you're getting in the relationship for the wrong reasons.
Right.
If you're getting in the relationship because you both love your alone time and you love your kid together time, but you don't need to have that person constantly like glued to your body 24/7 to make you happy. You just got to keep that in mind.
Well, in a long distance
I think Corey would be more upset. Corey would be more upset losing his cosplay lightsaber than he would be losing a relationship. I'm just going to throw that out there.
I am.
Then that is not the right relationship.
That is the wrong
I could get another one. I mean, I could detach from all that. I could get another one.
So here's
there's
Oh, go ahead, Heidi.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say there's a phrase that I like to use, and it's just stuff.
Mm-hmm.
David and I have talked a lot about the things that are important to us, how we spend our time, how we communicate with each other, just everything. And that was, a lot of it early on, so we could kind of see, how do we mesh? Is this something that we can progress forward, or are there just too many differences?
Right.
And if it's just stuff, it's not as important. People are always more important than things.
Right.
That's what I say.
Absolutely.
Well, and we also discussed what happens if we break up. And we decided we would still be friends. It wouldn't be easy at first, but we would still have that connection because of who we are.
That's
Yeah,
good.
I mean, I'm
we
always scared when I'm sorry. I was always scared when people say things like my kids are my everything, or my spouse is my world. Because I'm like, wow, because your spouse could die tomorrow, and like if that's your world, then how are you going to survive? And so those kinds of statements always kind of make me uncomfortable, because that person is like putting their entire life's value in somebody else.
Well, this to kind of swing it back around to the happy alone, happy together thing. Within a long distance relationship, you have to know how to be happy alone, because you're going to be alone a lot, right? And then you also have to know how to transition into those moments when you're together and find happiness and joy in that too. And sometimes the in and out can be very hard. It's difficult to kind of to shift from one to another, and one family to the other family, and one location to the other location. It gets very difficult at times. But when David and Heidi shared their news about June on social media, I kind of gave him a little bit of advice, and I just said, hey, when you guys are together, hold on tight physically, right? Like get that physical touching, get that one-on-one time in as much as possible. And then when you're apart, make sure you hold on emotionally. And that would be more of just reaching out and being happy where you're at, but also letting them know that you are happy when you're with them, right? It's kind of like a nice balance. But I do think that finding that time to be alone and accepting it and being happy is a big challenge. So that's one of the big things.
We have really held on to that advice. We've
talked about it more than once.
Oh, yes. Good.
And it was incredible because, when we go a week, it seems like a long time. 2 weeks is almost interminable. And I'm just like, when is Friday? It's ridiculous.
Do you know how many times we say, is it Friday yet in our conversations?
Yeah, like really. But we hold on tight.
Okay, but here's what you guys can do. You can go get imprinted pillow covers with each other's faces on them. So when they're gone,
Everest, that's just
you guys
that's just no.
Hey,
if I open that in June, David,
then you could kiss him goodnight every night.
I do not want to look at a picture on my face on a pillow. Like that's not happening.
Well, okay, here's the real question, David. Would you tell Heidi when you talk to her next, like, I'm sorry, I drooled on you all night long? Would you admit to it?
I would actually tell her that, yes.
She's like, I want you to drool on me.
She's actually,
I'm the one that drools.
She's the one that drools, not me. She's the one that drools, not me. It's a thing.
Not every time I'm asleep, but sometimes. And he's still alive.
Hey,
What is it in Robin Hood? You whine like a mule. You are still alive. Oh, he hasn't seen that movie. Dang it.
No, but I know the quote because you said it multiple times.
All right. I know we're having a good time, but we're going to get right back on our path because we're like We're going down a bajillion rabbit holes. Okay.
I know. I'm sorry.
So this next one is super important. We talked about it. I think Mike is the one who made a comment about this. So trust in a long distance relationship is essential. It's like breathing. If you do not trust the person on the opposite end, it is not going to work. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's as simple as that. You're going to have, like Corey was saying, you're going to have people being, too caught up in what are you doing over there? And who are you talking to? And why haven't you called me? And, all of those types of things. And the truth is when you are in a long distance relationship, and I've said this many times before, you have to realize they have a whole other life that you are not a part of. Like they are working, they are families, they are friends, they are community, they have a whole other world that you are not a part of. And you have to be able to trust them in that world just as much as they have to be able to trust you in your world. Because until those worlds overlap, say when you get married or say when you don't get married, or you get married and they still don't overlap. I mean, there's people like us out there, but they don't come together. You have to be able to trust people. So what would be some advice to those who are, because I think this is one of the big issues. I think people worry about, they're going to find someone else, or I won't know who they're flirting with, or what if they've got another boyfriend? What if this person's a scammer? I mean, there's so many things that comes into this trust aspect. So what advice can you give to those who are considering doing a long distance relationship?
So first off, and this is something that is kind of cliche, but a lot of women say it. They say, I'm okay. And when you hear that as a man, you think they're not okay. And so you start questioning and you start doing all of the things to make sure that they're okay. I had to learn with Heidi that when she says, I'm okay, that's actually what she means.
I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. And it's sometimes a little unusual. So my fine actually is fine.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Have you guys seen that meme, though, where it's Mary sitting on the back of a donkey and Joseph sitting there, and it says how Silent Night really started? And it's Joseph saying, Mary, are you okay? And she says, I'm fine. It's like, what's wrong? She says, I'm fine. And it's anyway, it's awesome.
But yes, we can have a whole podcast on the whole I'm fine, I'm good thing and with women.
But I've had to learn that when she means what she says, it's actually the case.
Take her at her word. And that goes both ways.
It took me several weeks to realize that
and me being
it's a real thing.
Not picking up on things like if it had been reversed, he would have picked up on the fact that I was struggling probably. I had no idea he was wondering about that.
Yep.
I'm kind of I know exactly what I mean, so I say what I mean, and I know it's this terrible word, assume that, of course, everyone thinks the same way because this is just the way it is. Not necessarily.
All right, so here's my favorite quote when it comes to these things, and if you're unsure about this, this is where the communication comes in. So let's say, Heidi says, "I'm fine," and he's like, "Ooh, what do I do with that?" This is honestly, this is what you need to rely on. If it wasn't said, it wasn't meant. Because honestly, if they're not going to tell you, or if maybe they just need a little bit of time to cool off, or maybe they need a little bit of time to process things and they can bring it back to you, whatever. If they have not said it, then you need to assume that it wasn't meant. And if you're considering, what did they mean by that? And you're curious, then you ask them. So you said this. What did you mean by that? Because then you can at least, again, it comes back to that whole, I'm not going to assume what you mean. So I need to be, adult enough, especially in a long distance relationship, to ask you what you mean and be prepared for the truth, whatever that truth might be. So that's a good rule of thumb, because if you start trying to fill in each other's sentences and thoughts, I think he meant this, or I think she meant that, then, that doesn't work really well long distance. It doesn't even work really well up close. So,
and overthinking is a relationship killer. We know this.
Absolutely.
We've seen it over and over again. And I can't allow myself to go down that path. I just have to ask. And when I do that, I get an answer, and I have to trust that it's the truth.
That's the truth, yeah.
And I leave it at that.
Yeah,
and I'm good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we've both been really good. I'm probably more prone to overthink for a little while before I bring something up. I think I'm a fairly direct person. He's got me beat times 10. And that's kind of something that, as just his friend, I wasn't entirely aware of. There are some things about David's character and personality that I have learned that I didn't see before. Not that he was pretending, it's just a different facet of who he is. And it's been really fun.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Did you want to say something, Corey? I thought I heard somebody else trying to.
I was just agreeing. I was just agreeing with you guys.
Okay.
My phone keeps going
Cool.
to sleep.
We are going to go on. We're going to move a little bit quicker because there's a couple I want to get to discuss. So the next one we have is patience and understanding. I think that's a given. I don't think anyone's going to be surprised.
The hardest part is, Tom Petty put it the best way. The waiting is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Great song, though.
Yes, Tom Petty had a natural method that he would use to help his patients, though. He sang a song about it.
Oh my
so
gosh.
I'm just going to throw that out there. Yeah.
Okay. So I think just patient with each other, because you know what? This is hard. They're hard. And I've said it a bajillion times, LDRs are not for the faint of heart. You have got to be fully committed. You have to be fully invested. You have to be willing to be lonely. You have to be willing to be unsure. You have to be willing to communicate to make sure you're, feeling validated or whatever it is you need. It's bad.
Yep.
It's hard, but you know what? It can be definitely worth it. If it's worth the investment, then go for it.
Well,
I love this comment.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, David. Sorry.
No, you're good, babe.
Okay.
Exactly.
I'm assuming everyone else can see this too.
I love that, Kim. It's so true. Yep. Don't ask a question you can't handle an honest answer to. And that was Dr. John Brailsford used to talk about all the time. He's like, if someone's giving you the truth, how do you react to that? Because they're like, oh, so-and-so's always lying to me. Well, how do you handle the truth? Right? So how we accept the truth and how we deal with the truth in those moments where the truth might be hard to hear or difficult to process or whatever, that says a lot about our character. And it creates an environment that either is going to shut off somebody to where they don't want to tell you the truth, or they're going to feel more open and able to tell you what's on their mind because of the way you handle things. So yes, very good, Kim. Thank you for that.
And that brings in vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
When you are able to be that vulnerable with your partner and say, this is what I'm really thinking and feeling. This is what I'm really struggling with. And this is why. And they are patient with you. They listen to you. And then they understand. It clicks in their head and they say, okay, I get it. That's when real connection starts.
Yeah.
And he's fantastic at that.
When you really have that connection, it makes it work.
Great. Thank you. Ooh, I like that too, Kelly. Better to be slapped with the truth than kissed by a lie. Amen, sister.
Yeah, I like it.
I mean, I'm all for kissing, but don't kiss me with the light. No.
Not with those lying lips. Okay.
So if Heidi goes, David, your breath smells great. And then she goes in for the kiss. She like,
and I say,
thank you. I can't do it.
Oh my gosh.
I had garlic earlier today. I know you're lying. Forget it.
Hey, I know how much she loves garlic and potatoes. I'd be like, I'm okay with it.
Oh my gosh.
Stick a gum. We're good.
All right. We're going to move on to number 6. Which is pray together. Since we are religious people and we believe there's guidance and strength in having the Spirit in and Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ in our relationships, I think one of the best ways that you can connect with someone, even if it's across the miles, is to somehow find a way that you can pray with them and pray about each other, pray about your relationship, pray about your goals, where you're headed, if you need to get out. I mean, all of the different areas of a relationship. And I think that though it might feel awkward, might feel a little different than, if you were in person and praying about your relationship, I think it can lead you down the correct path, whatever that path may be.
That's something that we instituted very early on into our relationship.
Okay, where it's due. He initiated the idea.
I brought it up. because I feel like it's important. Because, I mean, not only have we been able to strengthen our relationship, but we've strengthened our faith. We've strengthened, I don't know how many times I prayed for Heidi and her kids, and how many times she's prayed for me and Charlie. It's a beautiful thing to listen on the phone as they are pleading for help for whatever situation. And we have been through difficult situations. There have been things that we've gone through that have not been easy. Last night was not easy with her daughter. But as I have prayed, it brings the spirit.
Yep.
It allows you to connect. It allows you to feel what that other person is feeling. And it is a beautiful dynamic that if I'm being honest, it's something that we struggle with in person because we just want to be together,
You guys are too busy kissing. Just kidding.
Yes.
Sometimes we talk.
Sometimes there's a word in between the kisses. We're good.
You're like, well, hello. Haven't seen you all day. Where have you been?
I thought that it was interesting. People in the chat were talking about like going to the temple together. So when you guys actually are together, like making a temple trip, that's always a good idea. Reading scriptures. I have several of my clients who are in long distance relationships that they read scriptures with their significant others. So I think that all of those ways are bonding. And it's any way you can bond with the person who's distant is a good thing to go with. Yes. So do it if you're wanting to strengthen that relationship.
Yes. So I just wanted to address one point real quick here. Mm-hmm. And I think this is a really good point too. Celeste, you ran into this at one point where people had prayed and had revelation that you were the one, right? And so there was kind of that they were using prayer as a way to say like, well, and I think Elder Holland calls it those one-way revelations, right? Mm-hmm. So it's true. People can be manipulative that way, but I think if you guys do this more often and you're sincere about it, you start to get a feeling like, okay, this person's praying and saying like, I know you're the one, please help them to get the same revelation I got, sort of thing. Like, all right, that's not how it works.
Right. So you're going to want to pray.
You have to understand.
You're going to want to pray together in person. You're going to want to pray together separate, like maybe over the phone or over video chat or whatever. And I think that if you're in a committed relationship, you're going to hope that you're beyond this, hey, I've known you for a week and, the Lord's telling me that I'm supposed to marry you. Like, I think we're beyond that mark. And I think if you're to a point where you're praying with someone, you're hopefully to a point where they're being authentic. I don't want you to be praying to someone on the first date. Oh, hey, let's kneel down and pray. Like that'd be a little weird. We're talking someone who's in a relationship, they're in a long distance relationship, and they need to find a way to connect and bond and strengthen their ties because a lot of the things about an LDR will pull you apart. So this is something that can bring you together. And I would hope by that point, you already know that they are being authentic and that there's no manipulation. So
that's the key is the manipulation is, I mean, if they're going to do that in the beginning of the relationship, they're going to do that throughout the relationship. Where you're like, I prayed and the Lord told me I can buy that expensive boat. And, for you not to let me, you're kind of going against God's will. It's like, they're going to do it in other aspects of
that chapter in the DNC, but it talks about that.
Yeah.
But people have to understand too, in our community, people have to understand that one person might get revelation that you're the right one for them. And that's probably true. It doesn't mean that the other person has the same revelation because you can
only one.
You can meet 10,000 people and the Lord's going to tell you, yeah, I like those 10,000 people for you. Right. Because we've heard the prophet say that too, right? That I'm looking for that 1 in 8 billion in the world. That's mine. Well, what if that 8 billionth person is in a country you can never travel to because you can't get a visa to go there, and then they're not even that 1 billionth person, the 1 in 8 billion is not even a member of the church. Like,
No, exactly. So I think you're spot on, because the truth is that I personally don't believe there's just the one. I think the Lord brings in people that work with us, that can work for us. And then it's our choice to decide which path we want to go down and who we want to be with forever. So
well, people should get upset if they pray about something and then the Lord tells them, yeah, I like that person for you. But it doesn't mean that he goes now and forces the other person to like you back.
Exactly.
Well, so I wanted to share our experience. This was before this was probably 2 weeks before we started dating. I went to a sealing for 2 dear friends. Heidi was there. She was not at the sealing. She was doing endowments. And, I was there for a specific reason. And Heavenly Father told me no. But he showed me something different. He showed me in very clear terms me across the altar from Heidi. And I could see her beautiful face. I didn't tell her this at the time. She had no clue.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing. I was going to say, good choice.
she had no clue for months. But a few months ago, we went to my nephew's. So he went to the temple for the first time to take out his endowments. And we went together. We were both praying for answers, and they came independently. And it was such a beautiful experience to sit there in the celestial room. I almost made her snort laugh at one point. I don't know exactly what I said.
That's awesome.
It was awesome.
I don't remember, but
we sat there in the celestial room and talked, and we shared our experience, and we both knew that it was right.
That's awesome.
And we've continued on since then. And so praying, going to the temple, being intentional about keeping our commitments and our covenants, those are huge. Because without that, what do you have? Yeah. It's death to you apart, and I don't want that.
That's awesome. Thank you. That was sweet. I would have loved it if you would have made her snort. That would have been a fun story too.
I wish that would have happened. That's my goal when we get sealed, is to at least make her laugh.
Okay, wait. If you're gonna make her snort laugh, hold on. Let's do this real quick.
No. What are we doing with me up here?
Here we go.
There we go.
All right, make her snort laugh. There we go. Go for it.
It almost never happens. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
It happens to me more than it happens to her.
Okay, let's ask the audience, who wants to hear Heidi snort laugh?
They're all going to want to hear it.
Anyone would say no to anyone snort laughing. Everybody always wants to hear that.
Right? But it's awesome.
All right, we'll get there.
Well, we'll see. We'll try and get her to laugh.
You guys have all heard me sound like a man. I think that's enough.
Hey, I already sound like a man.
We've got 4 more. The last 2 are really basic, so we can probably just kind of throw those out there. But these next 2, I do want to quickly discuss. So it says that you're not helpless. You have control and you have a choice. So sometimes when you're in this long distance relationship, and this kind of goes for pretty much any relationship, you start feeling like you're the victim. Like, oh, he won't do or she won't do what I want him to do. And, oh, I want this and I want that. And you've got this kind of, grand plan in your head, and you get frustrated because the other person isn't kind of following suit. So this is the thing. In an LDR, it's hard, but you have the right to get out. You don't have to stay in it. So if you, in your mind, if you're like, you know what, I can leave if I would choose to, I can do that. Or I can stay and see how things work out. And I think just that acknowledgement to yourself, I can choose. I'm not a victim. I can do what I want to do with this. It kind of frees you. It's kind of like, okay. Well, I mean, I can leave if I want to, but I'm also good. I can stay for a little bit longer and see how things work out. So just having that just movement and ability and owning that, it's empowering when it comes to a long distance relationship. What was that, Heidi?
Go ahead.
Well, what you were talking about made me think of whatever number it was before this. be happy alone and be happy together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My personal opinion is I have to come to the point that I am okay with not ever having a partner before I can be my best partner, before I can be the best partner that is possible. And that factors into what you're talking about, because then you're not a victim anymore. Mm-hmm. And a victim mindset will never help a relationship to succeed. It will help it, any human relationship, not just a romantic one. And when you first started this number 7, you had like 3 different example statements. And what did they all start with?
You.
No, they all started with I. Oh, you were talking about how like you have all these ideas and plans and I want this and
got you. Yeah.
I can't remember everything else you said. And I think that David and I are really pretty darn good at filling each other's cup so we don't ever feel empty. Yep. We're both really giving people. And so neither of us are chasing the other one to be filled.
That's good.
And so it doesn't make us feel like we're trapped or we're not getting what we're looking for or whatever.
Look at that. Perfect segue into number 8.
In addition to that, Celeste, sorry.
Yes. No, you're good.
We had an experience when we went camping this summer. And Heidi we had an experience with her daughter. Essentially, she had to be escorted out. It was ugly. It was difficult. It was brutal.
It was so bad.
Man.
And we were driving back up the mountain, and she was fully ready to let me go.
Mm.
And I remember stopping the car on this mountain road and looking at her, and I said, "Babe, I'm not going anywhere. I am in this 100%. I had the choice to either say, I can't do this. This is too hard. Or I'm in this. And I thankfully chose the better of those 2 options. It wasn't easy.
Perspective. My daughter's 21, but
yeah. Mm-hmm. This is the thing. I think anything that's worth anything is not easy sometimes. Like I think things that are most important are worth fighting for. And so, I love that you fought for that situation. You could have played victim. You could have been like, I have no choice here, but you did.
But it wasn't a fight. It was just committing. That's all it was.
But that can be a fight sometimes for those who want to run, right?
You know what? I'm here. Yeah. I'm in this 100%. And
David's the never been this squirrely one.
The look that she had on her face was priceless. And she's like, really? And I said, yeah.
Good. Aw, you guys.
And it did not ruin the camping trip, actually. It was.
No, we had a phenomenal trip. It was awesome.
Well, good.
It's pretty amazing that every hurdle that's come up, like we don't have hurdles where we're struggling with each other about each other. We have life hurdles that come up. And what do you say all the time, David? I don't know how it works. I just know that it works.
Yep.
We don't ever end up pushing each other away. Whatever we end up doing always brings us closer together.
Yep.
Oh, well, good. That means you guys are utilizing your communication tools in a positive manner, because those moments of talking or discussing through things can make or break. So kudos to y'all. All right, we're just quickly through these. Okay, so this is really important. When you are really far away from somebody, you don't have that constant interaction where there's physical, even just gentle touch on the shoulder or whatever. Like you have to be very purposeful about verbalizing what you're thinking, what you're feeling, because again, we don't read minds, right? Girls can't read
Wait,
guys.
what?
Can't be, yeah, like
I
there's
thought
so
that was a
much
thing.
going on. So you can't
Corey, back me up. This is a thing.
You just can't assume, oh, they know that I miss them. So I don't really need to tell them. Of course they know I
It's
miss
all
them.
up in here. You just got to access it.
To quote Francis
there's-
Unagi, like, come on.
Oh,
You
God.
need to be intentional with the things you're saying to people. Like, because the lack of the one-on-one creates that environment where things need to be spoken on a higher level versus just through our physical touch or mannerisms that would come on a normal type of relationship. So do you find that you guys go out of your way to express your feelings? Because I'm thinking if it's a good thought and it's in your head, it should come out of your mouth.
Oh, it's a
You
natural.
see, oh, she's so pretty. Oh, you look so pretty tonight.
We talked about this earlier. Every morning I say good morning beautiful through text. Every morning. And she says, hello, sexy boyfriend, all the things.
Ooh.
And,
tell us some of the more risque ones, David.
Don't tell all my secrets.
Give us all the secrets.
We keep it a little spicy. It's fun.
Hey,
it's awesome.
that we like a little spice. That's good.
That's right. Bring the spice.
Maybe you shouldn't plan on forever with someone. How do I put that discreetly?
You don't want a bland forever. You want a little bit of spice in that forever.
There, we'll go with that.
I'm like, where do I sign up? Like, can we do this right?
Yeah.
Right
Oh, thank you.
I would add Corey into that mix too.
I think Corey's looking pretty too.
Yes.
He's pretty blue-eyed.
You guys are so crazy.
I don't remember how many months ago it was. I think it was fairly early on. He made some joke about, I'll just whisper sweet nothings in your ear. I don't even remember what the context was. He was just being funny. And I was like, I prefer sweet somethings.
Aww.
So that's
You
what
knew what he meant, though. That's sweet, though. That's the thing. Like, I think since there is a lot of surety that comes into an LDR, because you really do have to have that trust, right? And so sometimes you're just kind of, it creeps in like, I hope he's thinking this, or I hope she knows that, or whatever. And I just think the more you're open and honest and sharing those feelings and those thoughts with the other person, it helps to solidify and it helps to bond the two. Again, it's back to bonding across the miles, right? And so it's a really important aspect.
Well, I mean, I knew that she had a long day today, and I sent this GIF from, what was it, Space Jam, where Babs Bunny says, "Hey, nice butt."
I was
sent this
actually
to her,
gonna tell that story, but never mind.
and she loved it. And it's just the little things to let them know, hey, I'm thinking about you. I love you. I miss you. I wish I was kissing you. I mean, all of the things. You have to verbalize it.
The timing made it really, really cute, though. I had just talked to him on my lunch and his break, which thankfully oftentimes coincide. Right. And we had just hung up, and that like popped up 3 minutes later. And he knew that I was busy with a patient and I wasn't going to be able to respond. And I know that he knows that I can't. And so we don't have that weird, like, oh, are they ignoring me? Blah, 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 garbage. We don't do that.
Oh, I mean, there's been times like I haven't heard from Everett the whole day, like late at night. In fact, the last podcast I was talking to everyone. I'm like, I haven't heard from Everett today. So we'll see what happens. And people are like, that's weird. But that I just know he's got a life. He's got something going on. It's not like I'm like, what's he doing? That's just kind of what you have to do. You have to give them that space because you know that something's going on. Right. And if you're constantly like, why are you texting me? Why are you calling me? Like that's insecurity and that causes some problems.
It doesn't work. Yep.
We both have a lot of connection though. And we match really well that way. So we're in frequent contact, but it's not a frenetic, insecure thing. It's just we like to talk to each other.
And we talk
I don't know why. I mean, why would
4 hours a day, every day. It's a thing.
It's crazy.
And our kids are like, so who are you talking to right now? Oh, David. Oh, okay, whatever.
I know.
No, my kids don't ask that anymore.
I'm always looking at him like, who do you think I'm talking to?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you talking to, Mom? Oh, my other boyfriend or, whatever, my other husband, whatever. Anyway, these last two, I'm just going to throw them out there just for the viewer's sake, but they're super like obvious. These are the does, right? Like do online dates. If you're far apart, Find ways to connect. Find fun things to do. Watch movies together. DoorDash each other food and play games online. You know, there's so many things you can do nowadays that have opened up because of COVID. So that's a given. And this is even
don't
bigger.
Fall asleep on the online date, because I've done that.
Well, yes, don't fall asleep.
My son Charlie had to end the date because, he's asleep.
Yeah, didn't Charlie have to come out and shut off the movie at some point?
He did.
Oh, if we're talking a movie, everyone falls asleep all the time when we're watching movies together.
Okay,
I'm like,
remember about honesty and communication. These are all lies right now. Slander and lies. I never fall asleep.
In David's defense,
I always fall asleep during the opening credit. That does not count as so.
That's so true.
Okay, in David's defense, he is so much more ambitious than I am, and he runs. I don't know. His gas tank is like way bigger than mine or something, but he runs more energy, does more stuff on less sleep than I will ever accomplish. Maybe it's the fact that I've got a few years on him. I don't know. But
hey, there is nothing wrong with having a few years
6
on.
or 7.
Well, I mean,
we're not counting.
a few.
We're not gonna say what I'm just saying there's nothing wrong with being older than your significant other. That's all I'm saying.
All right, you cougars. All right.
Hey now, it's a single digit number. I'm not a cougar.
And I'm like, yes, please.
Yes. Okay, last one. Okay. Visit each other as frequently as possible. That is a given. As much as you can, get to see each other. I know it can be pricey. I know that there has to be like arranging of childcare sometimes and, you know, all of those things that go along with it. But if that person is worth it, if that person is worth the struggle and you see something, do what you can to have those moments with them, because you do have to have the in-person moments. And if you're in an LDR, I'm just going to throw this in here. If you're in an LDR and you've never met this individual, meet them, because it can be completely different in person. There is a physical attraction or a chemistry that can be completely void in person and not online. So get in there and see them for real life, because they might not even be a real person. I'm just going to throw that one out there too.
Yep.
And sometimes a year and a half later, it like bites you in the butt and you didn't know it was there.
That's right.
That's I don't know how that happens.
That's all right.
If you're in a long-distance relationship,
we were really lucky
with a Nigerian prince who's waiting to leave you a huge inheritance, I'm pretty sure you're probably not ever going to meet that person in person.
I think the Nigerian prince comes into every episode.
That's why I have a Nigerian.
It's just so pertinent across so many levels.
Corey, just start singing.
I have a Nigerian phone number that
my prince will come.
I have a Nigerian phone number that I spoof when I call girls for the first time. You know, like,
oh my gosh,
oh my gosh, no, that's a good way to get a date. All right. Okay. So if we are at the end, and I know this has gone over, but no, that's okay. Lots of good stories. And I think that we just have a lot of people asking about long distance relationships. It's probably because I am the queen of long distance relationship. I've titled myself that. Now I'm the queen of long distance marriages because we're crazy that way. And I know you two have been like, we haven't seen each other for 2 weeks. You know, the last time I saw her in person, when was it? Beginning of August.
Month.
So it's gonna.
That's how we roll. Yeah.
You know, I have to say, it sounded that making those statements probably sounds really selfish given what you guys are doing.
No,
I can't tell you how often David and I are like, "Wow, they are amazing," or I'll say stuff like, "I have absolutely nothing to complain about."
Hey, this is the thing. If there's one thing that Everett and I are learning, it is patience. And it is that if it's worth it, you will do what you got to do. And yes, 2,000 miles is a lot. And yes, 2 months is a lot. But at some point in time,
this was not the plan.
No. Yes. At some point in time, the Lord's plan is going to match up with our plan, and we'll finally actually be under the same roof. We don't know when, but hey. Right. Oh, thank you, Kim. You're so sweet. I love Kim. She's awesome.
Kim's from the UK, so you know she might.
And I happen to know that
she might be long distance.
She's in an LDR. I'll have to. I know that for sure.
Oh, there we go. We need to have Kim back on the podcast again. Then.
All right. Well, I just wanted to thank you guys for coming on again, Heidi and David, and we are super excited for you two, and we are hopeful that June deadline comes and there's wedding bells and Heidi snorting in the ceiling room. I mean, these are the things.
No, that's so not happening.
I can't wait. Let's do this thing.
Let's do it. So yes,
you can't make me. I mean, snort in the ceiling room. I mean, not marry you. I mean, you can't make me marry you either. That's not in question.
I know, babe. You're good.
Aw, you guys are cute. Thank you.
We love you guys. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for inviting us. It was fun.
Thank you, Corey, for sitting there and holding down for it as the single person. I thought you were going to come out a little more like, I'm not really in LDR. I don't like those very much, but maybe we persuaded you.
Corey was silently protesting.
What person would say, they're my favorite?
Look, never say never. So I never say never. I mean,
good.
Do I prefer to have something close by? Yeah, but we live in a weird, crazy world, and so
post-COVID, it's a whole new ball of wax.
The thing that I always say is, person is, if they are worth it, do it.
Amen. And you know what? This is the thing. If you feel they're worth it and you move forward and things still don't work out, you have no regrets.
Absolutely.
You made the choice you needed to make sure that it could possibly work out. If you back out because you get scared or you back out because you're unsure, you might have a regret. The what if is going to bug you. So if you feel like it's a person that is interesting, you feel like you have it in you to not be jealous and to be trustworthy and to trust them, move forward and see where it'll take you. I mean, 58% of LDRs work out. 10% of all marriages come from an LDR. So, hey, those are good odds. Those are good odds, especially post-COVID days. We're gonna keep.
And we're totally beating the odds, and I can't wait.
Yes, you are.
Baby,
I'm happy for it. All right. Well, thank you guys all for coming. Oh, whoops! I know there's an after party, and
I don't know how to get there.
Have to add that into the. So you know what? As I'm adding this, Corey, why don't you just give us a quick rundown of your thoughts about what you've learned tonight, and that now you might have the possibility.
Oh, let's just throw Corey on the spot.
Well, yes, these were very good points. And Heidi and David both give us all hope, including myself, that maybe a long distance relationship isn't so bad. So I won't be so negative. Not that I'm negative. It's just that I guess it's preferences. But I mean, looking at the statistics, I guess I have to be open minded. So.
And we love you, Corey. You're amazing. Just saying.
Thanks.
And I think
what is the quote from Waterboy? You can do it.
You can do it.
And I know that there's a lot of people out there that are long distance that would adore Corey and would love that. So if you're interested, go for it.
If anybody's interested in a long distance relationship, please reach out to Corey on his Facebook page.
He's all about it. We have inspired him. Anyway,
man, what is going on tonight? This might be my last podcast.
Hey, don't say that. We like you on here.
I'm just kidding.
I put the after party information in the chat, so we'll see you there in about 5. Just please join us.
I don't see it.
It's in the actual chat, but I can send it to you as well under the
send it to me as
well.
Not
paste
private,
from our chat,
comments.
So.
But
I don't know what I'm doing. Gosh.
Anyway, thank you everyone for coming. We really appreciate it. We hope to see you at the after party, and we will see you next week for part 2 of the financials that we did last week. We're going to touch on financials, not the prenups next week. So we'll see you then. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Have a great night, guys.
Hey, bye.
Bye.